Hello, everyone. I'm so happy that you can be here again with us tonight, and that you join us for another Tisk Talk. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's program that we've planned for you. This is a special occasion for me, and I'm sure for you as well, because we will be talking about an event that is taking place this week, which will be very exciting. And for this reason, I'm very happy to welcome today Exile. Hello, Exile. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
Thank you. I'm also I'm good. A bit tired, but
Yeah.
really glad that after all of the preparations, we can finally have this chance to speak.
Yeah.
And hello, everyone in chat. Hello, Foof. So nice for you to join. Hi, Ash Clay. Um, so Exile, you just I figure at this point you probably don't need an introduction because you're such an important community figure for European Melee and European Smash, and it's honestly just a huge joy for me that you are on here now. You've been known for doing so many things for our scene, TOing multiple events in France and in different places as well. Uh, your work for Smash Sisters, for that matter, and also the You Women of Smash have been so instrumental in all of that. And also the content that you've created in the past. And on top of everything, you're also doing things for the Ice Open conference, which is today's topic. So welcome welcome to the stream, and yeah, so happy that you're with us, and I'll
Thank
start
you
off.
so much. I appreciate the introduction.
I'll start off with a very general question. Can you tell us what is the Ice Open conference and why is it actually Ice Open, maybe?
Ooh. I think I found the name. It's a mess. I'm very bad at finding names, so I was like, "Oh, we need to talk about awareness and being conscious of what's going on, etc." And it was like, "Oh, the people need to open their eyes to what's wrong in the community,"
Hmm.
which at the time was kind of obvious. And now, honestly, if I were to take another name, I might take another one that's a bit catchier. But hey, it says what we need to say, right? So the Eyes Open conference is a one-day event or half-day event. We've done last year on October 10th, I believe, and we're doing it this year on October 30th. So yearly event, but for 2 years. I don't know if it counts. The idea at the beginning was really a few of us, so three of us, came together last year thinking, okay, we've seen some issues with the scene in our long history in the scene. Well, long or less long. In so X1, Jessica, is the founder of the Eyes Open
Hmm.
conference, and she reached out to us.
Hmm.
And for her, obviously, she's been in the scene forever. Us, not nearly as long, but still, we got pretty much invested. And I think so. We were, yeah, there were three of us: Alexandra, Alex Laus, Jessica, and myself. And we were also relatively invested in EU Women of Smash, in Smash Sisters, in LGBT Smashes in general, etc. So we had a few intersections in our personal interests and our personal investment in the scene. And we thought, you know what? There's like, we're all stuck at home right now. There's COVID. We can't go out. We can't do tournaments, and we wanted to work on, especially because at the time it was
Hmm.
just after the whole July 2020 sexual abuse stories, etc. It was like there was really a tide in the community at that point where we all wanted to make the community better, but we couldn't actually make it better technically because we weren't able to go to tournaments. And
Hmm.
talk about player safety when you can't see the players is not really relevant. So what we wanted to do, and of course at the end we thought COVID was gonna end soon, so
Hmm.
uh,
Well.
but at the time, we thought we're going to
Hmm.
use this time where everyone is stuck at home to talk about what we can do better, what we need to change in the scene, and to make sure that all the TOs have the tools so that when they come back to tournaments, when they start organizing tournaments again, or events in general, they have some keys to make the community better for everyone. And yeah, so that was the beginning of the conference. And so last year we had talks that were more about awareness in general, and this year I feel like our talks are a bit more practical, really. So last year our talks, we had a fireside chat on women in Smash, we had a roundtable on race in competitive Smash, which was very
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
We had a talk on meritocracy and top player privilege, and we had a workshop for TOs on how to make their event accessible to everyone. So it was really a matter of, we're going to put these people in the same room. We're going to tell them, you have this in common.
Hmm.
Basically, tell us about this topic for those of us who aren't aware.
Hmm.
So the Women in Smash fireside chat. So I was part of that with Kafka, who is the French TO Kafka,
Hmm.
and the two of us discussed the history of women's smash in France and in Europe, etc. For it was really aimed at people who did not know this story. So it was really about, yeah, awareness and talk about history
Hmm.
and giving an outlook on the community that people don't necessarily have if they're not directly affected.
Hmm.
And yeah, this year the Eyes Open conference idea was, well, we keep opening people's eyes, but also we talk about action. So I know we're going to talk about the program more in detail later,
Oh,
but
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, and
So yeah,
we'll.
talk.
I'm very curious to explore because I've noticed that while there are like constant factors that seem
Mhm.
similar to last year, but at the same time I noticed that you've kind of chosen a bit of a new approach, or where you try to include other topics as well, and I'm very interested in finding more about that in a second. But um, the reason why I wanted to talk to you about the ICE Open conference is also to because we see it on social media, and you've prepared such a great program. And I think it's so important for people to realize how much time and effort goes into these
Too
things.
much.
Yeah, and I mean, you will have a panel about burnout, and I think that's also a very important and interesting topic. And I'd like to touch with you on that because you talk about these things on your Twitter timeline, and I think
Mhm.
those are important conversations to have. So, but I wanted to take like a step back also and see how these things actually come about and how people connect to each other, because that's such a special attribute, I think, in our community, that we're able to do this. And so I'm curious to find out more details about how last year went, and then I think we'll talk in more detail about this year's conference as well. So you've mentioned COVID, right? And I was
Yeah.
wondering, the way you've talked about it, it seems to me that it was a blessing and a curse. Would you what is your point of view? I mean, we all missed events and offline events where we could actually meet and play, but was it helpful for you and the group of people who worked on the Ice Open conference to have like time to prepare such an event? What was that like?
I think that was a big thing for sure. So X1, Alex, and myself, we're all TOs. Usually we're busy all year organizing events, and then yeah, I think we were very chill at the time. So we weren't organizing anything, the three of us, for the first time in years.
Hmm.
We had downtime and we had more energy to do things, that's for sure. Another thing that for me was really important with COVID, and it's not directly related to, well, it is the fact that because of COVID, many people were able to speak out against abusers in the community. And personally, I strongly believe
Hmm.
that everything that we said in July 2020, all the accusations, I mean, I compiled a list of everyone accused, and that was over 200 people. That's a
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
people. And that kind of like snowball effect where you have one person who's brave enough to talk, and then you have other people who are brave enough to talk, and then it just empowers everyone to talk. It would not happen if people knew that next weekend they're going to see their abuser at a tournament, I think. So I think in that sense, COVID was absolutely essential, because it forced us to take a step back from the scene and see what's wrong with the scene. Where if
Mm,
you have an event every weekend, you don't really take into measure what's wrong, because you're always thinking of the next event or the previous event, and you see everyone, so you always have this bias of, well, this person is nice in person,
mm,
etc. And there, yeah, you really had the this extra freedom, basically.
mm,
That was, yeah, yeah, I think for that was necessary. And then for COVID, it was a time where we wanted to do good things and we didn't know what to do to keep some social link. And yeah, I think that was ideal.
mm,
And it was also a time where it was normal to get everyone on a stream, because
mhm,
before COVID, you would not be able to make a conference or a thing like this, because people were so used to seeing each other in person. They would not tune in to a Twitch stream, I think, to talk about the community. And now it's become more
mm,
normal. Well, as your show
mhm.
exists, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see that there is an interest in content like this, and in
Mm.
actual constructive content that is outside of events themselves. So yeah, for this, COVID was amazing. For everything else, it sucked.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely you. That's what I also thought, because before COVID, and I mean I know it from academia, like the amount of online events
Yeah.
like this and online conferences, and but I was still trying to actually think about what made you choose like this specific format of a conference, because it's not a very um, like not that you encounter it with every Smash event that you have like a panel where you invite speakers. I mean, there were, especially last year, there were like different panel like events happening with a different focus. But what made you actually choose such a format?
So when X1 pitched this to me, she pitched a very clear format of a
Mm,
conference. So I don't know what went through her head, but I am going to make some guesses.
sure.
X1 and I are very active in a professional field on
Mm,
diversity, belonging, and inclusion matters. So we have this more professional point of view where we do see panels, we do see events,
mm,
we see things that are open to a certain industry or a certain field of work, and that doesn't really exist in Smash, because Smash doesn't have this professional approach. But
mm,
what we have in mind when we talk about diversity and inclusion is more our work and more the events that we see in professional settings than Smash events.
mm,
So I think when Jess came to me and said, "Hey, let's make a conference. Let's actually have half a day where we." Oh yeah, and there was also that. It's half a day where you sit everyone not in a room because it's virtual, but the idea is there. You just like get everyone to sit in front of their screen and dedicate 5 hours to this. Because if you
mm,
write articles and everything, people can
yeah.
read whenever they want, and usually it means never.
Mm,
So if you tell them, hey, it's this afternoon, and you just block this afternoon, and you just come over, and it's going to be great, and you're going to learn some stuff, and when it's over, it's over. That also helps, especially in times of COVID, where we were all desperate for a little bit of social connection. And even if the social connection is just, a panel with webcams, it's already more social interaction than many of us had for 6 months.
but this is actually also something that was that I what I was wondering about, because on the one hand, I think having a stream in comparison to articles, it is just more about participation, about even if it's people meeting online. But I was also
Mhm.
thinking about all of the preparation that goes into it and what happens after, right? It brings so
Yeah.
many people together.
It does. It does. I don't know how many people we have this year, but I would say between 20 and 25, maybe
Yeah,
30, including all the staff. It's a lot of people to manage, and we're all volunteers, obviously.
yeah,
Well, no, not volunteers. Feel free to donate to our Kofi. But also, I mean, given the amount of donations we got, we're all volunteers.
yeah.
We have a volunteer mindset, at least, and that's sometimes more important than whether you're actually getting paid or not. Um, yeah, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of effort. It's honestly, Eyes Open Conference has taken more resources from X1 and from me and from Vlurk, who is a core organizer this year as well,
Mm.
than organizing a tournament, at least in my opinion. I think it's easier to organize a tournament than to organize this specific event, because for this event, you have to make people care about it, which is like tournaments, people just show up and play, right? They want to be there. Here, you're like, hey, we're going to talk about everything that's wrong, and you're going to have a horrible time, but also you're going to be smarter when you go home. And that's much harder. And it's a lot more marketing involved for not nearly as much visibility at the end, I feel.
I can
But it's
imagine.
so important. It's worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Articles are easy, but again,
Mm.
it's what I was saying earlier. People don't necessarily read them. With the panels, they're really hard to organize, but then you have to replay videos forever. And we did notice that many smashers tend to have an easier time watching videos as well. So it's nice to have both formats. And then on the daily, we've written many articles in the end, or Twitter threads. I mean, we have written a bunch of Twitter threads on inclusion in the Smash community that can also be read. It's a mix of both.
For sure. And I mean, uh, like I can say, and so many of us really appreciate the work that you put in, and I think it's such an important event to have in our community, and it's also so unique because, at least as far as I'm aware, I don't know of any community that is like focused on a specific game that has something like that. I mean, maybe you like do you have organizations on initiatives that you take inspiration from, maybe, or is that still
Yeah,
something very unique in your mind?
we've really made our own thing. Again, using more examples from outside gaming. So, from our professional
Mm.
fields, I work in localization. Jessica's a developer. So, we've seen a lot of software development and localization tech companies basically
Mm.
events, and I think we've drawn more inspiration from that than from gaming. For gaming, I have seen their so PAX is a very good example. So a
Mm.
conference in the US, it's multi games, but they have a lot of different panels and talks which are really interesting, and I highly recommend you watch some
Mm.
replays if you can. There are, yeah, that way there are some gaming conventions that do have some roundtables about this, but
Mm.
as far as I know, there's not a lot of events that are entirely dedicated to it. Yeah. And there
Yeah,
shouldn't be either. I mean, it's good that there's just a few.
yeah,
Because
I
if it's
mean,
too much, you
so,
have a lot of choice and
yeah.
you don't watch anything. It's always the same issue.
I mean, obviously there are important organizations like Aniki or
Mm,
Women in Games, and they do really important stuff. But as I've said, what is really curious to me is I don't know of like a particular community that focuses on one game.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, maybe we can also discuss this because that's like there's so much going on in the Smash community that obviously um, just screams that we need something like the ICE Open Conference. And at the same time, what do you think makes it so that the Smash community of all communities dedicates with so many volunteers who invest so much time and energy into something like that?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's two things. So the first one is Smash is extremely different. I mean, we're very secluded from other games. It's a whole meme, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, melee players, they don't even necessarily play other video games. Personally, I don't really play games. I'm just invested in Melee.
Mm.
And it's the case for a lot of people. We're very separate. So it's very easy as organizers to just focus. So the first edition was on Smash, but we ended up only having Melee people. And the second, we just
Mm.
decided to just go Melee.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think there's this whole thing where we are very separate from the others, but it also means that we're much closer knit together and we care about each other. And usually when I think of gaming and they say community, I think no, it's not a community, it's a scene, right? It's
Mm.
people who are sharing something, etc., but they're not a community. Melee is a community. In Melee, I know that if I have a personal problem tomorrow, someone will help me in this community because we've got each other's back. And
Mm.
it's also why it hurts so much when things go wrong, but it's also why I'm so proud of this community because when we say like, oh, there's a lot more going on in Smash, like there's a lot of issues, blah blah, we don't have more problems in Smash, I believe. Like, I personally have a deep conviction that we don't have more problems in
Mm,
Smash. We just talk about them
yeah.
because we care more about how people inside the group feel than how people outside the group view us. And that's absolutely essential.
I think that's a really great point. That's something also that I think stands out to me. That yeah, I mean, we've when Dr. Piggy was on stream, we've talked
Mhm.
about that. Smash is part of society, right? We have the same problems,
Absolutely.
um, but at the same time, sorry, I just lost my trail of thought. But yeah, but at the same time, this dedication that we as a scene and as a community just is so inherent to us, the perseverance and the, I think those things that we cultivated maybe in other aspects of the game translate maybe over to these issues about social equality. And I mean, mm, you were talking about why you are doing this and you want to make a better community. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit? What is so? I don't know if you could measure it in a way like that, but what do you think would need to happen for you to consider maybe the Ice Open Conference successful? Like, is there specific changes you want to see in the community? Are there, is it more about, like on a micro level, like behaviors of people? What do you
Yeah.
think?
For me, it's definitely personal behaviors. So on a conference like this, it's really hard to measure success because
Mm,
it's long term, and we could do a workshop. We did a workshop on accessibility of events last year, and then if we had had events since then,
mm,
it would have been easy to think, okay, did people put in an application? Right, we talked.
mm,
So I'm just thinking of the things we clipped for the promo, which are now burnt into my brain. But for example, having little pride flags somewhere just to signal that this is a safe space for LGBT
mm,
people. Things like this. It's
mm,
small, but then you go to an event and you see the little flag and you're like, yes,
yeah.
they listened. And it makes a real difference, and you can kind of measure the difference. And one thing too, where I'm very excited to measure the difference, is on the women's side. So seeing women and non-binary people, apologies, um, seeing Smash Sisters in particular grow from one tournament to the next, seeing
Mm,
Smash Sisters at the same circuit, having the EU Women of Smash Discord server growing on a weekly basis.
mm,
It's incredible just seeing this progress, and I think it's not a direct consequence of the talks, but it's something that we can actually measure, and that shows that we are more and more welcome. We have our place more and more in the community, and that's what matters. For this year, we're gonna focus a lot on very practical things, but there. Sorry, just saw Ashley's message. Small flags, like the one that's like 2 meters large. That we have in
I
Portugal.
would have loved to see that, honestly. Yeah.
I think we have photos somewhere. So at the venue, so on the first floor, we covered the balcony with a huge
Oh, I
gay
think I
flag and a
saw that
huge
maybe.
trans flag.
Mm,
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Yeah. So this year we're really focusing on more practical things, but also very individual things.
mm-hmm,
So last year it was about accessibility and like how, well, most accessibility really. But it was things that TOs could do to make everyone's lives better. And this year we're really on how to make everyone's life better. And I'm
mm.
really sorry, I'm not on my computer and I have no idea how to close the Discord
That's
notifications. So
totally
it will
fine.
be.
Don't worry. Mm,
So this year, yeah, we're really on personal behaviors, and that's how we're going to measure it this year. What I would like to see in an ideal world, I would like to see people talking about this. At Smash World Tour this
mm,
weekend, it was absolutely amazing because someone, I'm not gonna name him because I don't know if he wants to be named,
Mm.
but a man came up to us. So it was Sarah, who is not a Melee player, Jessica, and I. And he came up to us and he was telling us, "Oh, hey, I've followed the conversations on Twitter and on Discord, etc. And I was very much against Smash Sisters at the beginning, but now I think it's important because this and this and this." And he was super respectful, and he was someone that I know was not necessarily the most open person a few years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And having him come up to us and proactively talk about, like, "Oh, these are my ideas. Have you thought about them? Would you like the resources to do them?" It's like, oh my god, this is perfect. Like, he wasn't even trying to reinvent the wheel or anything. He was actually coming up to us and saying, "What do you think about it? Do you want to do it?" I was like, yes, this is exactly the behavior that I want to see. And seeing this, it's just one person, right? But it made my weekend. And if there's one person like this in every country, it makes such a huge difference. Or state, Americans, I'm watching you. Uh,
We have the intercontinental networking going on still, and maybe we'll talk about that as well. I completely agree with you, and I mean, that was kind of maybe a provocative or trick question, but because of course it's not easy to find like um, factors where you can actually measure change, but I think these things they add up, right? And
yeah, exactly. One more person who talks about it when they didn't talk about it earlier
mhm.
is one person who makes a difference. And sometimes it's all you need.
So would you say that after, because I was wondering how after last year and last year's conference, how people continue to talk about these issues. So, and this is just one example from this past weekend from the finals in the EU that you've mentioned. But did you notice that people actually spend time and attention to these issues more than before?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I joined the community in 2015. And I remember in 2016, if you mentioned anything that was about equality and inclusion and how some people feel marginalized in the community, are marginalized in the community and don't have their place, you would get flamed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you would be the person who's trying to sabotage the community, who hates Melee. I've been told that. I've been told you hate the Melee community and you're trying to sabotage the Melee community or to punish the Melee community. It was like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it, like, I care enough to say what's wrong, right?
Exactly.
And today, if you don't talk about it at all, then sometimes people are actually going to say, like, "Do you even care?" And now it's even a small thing. It's not socially acceptable to defend someone who did something really bad
Mm.
on the basis that that they're nice or that they've been in the scene for 20 years. We've banned people in the past 2 years, or we've discussed banning people in the past 2 years that have been in the community for 20 years, and that's not something that would have happened 5 years ago. So it
Mm.
is a real difference from one day to the next. Yeah.
For sure. I think the discourse changed a lot, and an event
Mhm.
like the ICE Open Conference has such a huge impact, I think, just on the what is actually talked about and how it is talked about. So
Yeah.
maybe because you were referring a couple of times already to this year's program, I would like to show the newest trailer from the ICE Open Conference, which I really enjoy.
Big shout
So
outs to Megan Scout for the voiceover and to Rue for the video itself.
shout outs for sure. So I will just quickly show this now to our audience.
The Eyes Open Conference is a half day of talks and panels featuring Stay State, Cone, Dr. Piggy, and many other figures. We'll talk about how to be an ally, burnout, mental health, and player bans, among other topics. See what you can learn and share in the conversation. Join us on Phoenix Smash on the 30th of October to help build a better community for everyone.
So there you have it. Those are the everything you need to know about the specifics of the ICE Open Conference this year. But just to repeat it, it's taking place this Saturday, October 30th, and it starts at so the Central European
5
time.
p.m. Central Europe time. Yeah.
And I will actually post now the link to chat
Ooh.
just so the schedule is out there. If people, hello Vlerk, very cool
Hi,
that you
Blair.
joined. Awesome. And just so if people watch this from maybe not Central Europe, maybe from somewhere else, this will get also uploaded to YouTube, and I will link the schedule there as well. So
Yeah, we tried to do this whole inclusion thing all the way through. So we also tried to take most people into account in making the schedule and not put just one time zone. So I hope it's useful to at least one person out there who didn't want to do the math.
for sure, and you, I mean, you do have international speakers, right? So and we'll so those are the specifics about this year's conference. Maybe would you mind like walking us through the program a bit? I mean, I can help you with. I can tell you the order of the panels if you don't have it in front of
I'll
you.
try and remember. I don't have
Okay,
it here.
this will be the
Don't
test for you
try and
then.
remember. Yeah. Yell at me if I get it wrong. So we will begin at 5 p.m. with X1's opening words, a little recap of what we're doing this, what we care about, and why Eyes Open is important. Not just Eyes Open, but why inclusion is important in the scene. And then we will immediately move on to the first talk, I believe, which will be a personal experience recap where Kon, who is the yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're
Cohen, who is the
spot
head
on.
CEO of the Air series, most known for that, also known for creating the Kunz Academy, and also, and that's relevant here, a high school teacher, former high school teacher, will talk about his own experiences with player safety at tournaments and alcohol consumption. So Air is a very special series of tournaments, so of course it's not a matter it's not a workshop, right? It's really one person talking about his experience, talking about what he did, what worked, what didn't work, and what he would say was the best for him. So that's going to be our first event.
Maybe because if you don't mind, because I'm curious about probably each of these panels and maybe hear a bit, to hear a bit more about it. And I think that already shows, because to me, looking at also last year's conference, and you had topics about awareness, about social equality, but now this particular panel, for example, leans into more of a broader culture of what makes up these events, right? And I think, especially since last year, alcohol consumption has been such a big topic. And what we can actually do to be more conscious of what we do at events. Would you say that has that become, what actually led to this decision to include something like this panel in the conference?
So that was actually an easy one because I wanted to do it last year.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I really wanted to do it last year, but we didn't have time to put something good together. And the second we decided to do a new edition this year, it was like, I want to talk on alcohol. I don't care about the rest. I want alcohol. Okay, that is a very bad phrasing.
Where it's
but yeah, I wanted to talk about alcohol and about player protection. So that was really obvious, given that last year it was a main topic that we can talk about last year.
Very cool. Okay, you can continue. I just wanted to.
Cool. One other thing. One reason why we didn't put too much pressure on ourselves for organizing it last year is because we didn't have live events anyway. Whereas now they've started again, so now it's relevant, because talking about alcohol a year ago and then forgetting for 10 months and then it's relevant again would not have been as useful as this year anyway.
I mean, the dynamic is really different with people meeting offline and drinking, and how like peer pressure comes into play. I mean, we could probably talk about alcohol consumption like during COVID and during lockdowns, but I think coming back to more and more
relevant. It's less Smash related,
for sure, but coming back to more and more offline events, I think it's really important to make a conscious effort to think about these things in advance before worse things happen, right? And so I think that's a great start to actually begin at the conference with that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
After this one, we will have a panel on finding a place in the community. So
Fantastic.
in this, okay, I'm super excited for this panel, but then again, I'm very excited for everything, obviously. But in this panel, we will have 3 different generations of Smashers sharing their experience as marginalized players themselves. So we will have Vanity Angel, who joined the community
Long time
it
ago.
began.
Yeah.
16 years ago, 6 years ago, 2006. Thank you. I'm not very good at sign language, so
that's
VA
great. And we
joined
have
the-
someone who can actually help out with
Yes, I have my
specific
understudy there. It's perfect. So he started in 2006. So yeah, so he organized the first LGBT meetup in Europe and probably in the world at a Smash tournament at Air 5, which is incredibly recent, painfully recent even. And yeah, so he'll be talking about his experience trying to build a sense of community and not necessarily finding it in his time. So he's retired now. Maybe because of this, he will talk about it. We'll know. After that, we will have Switch, who is a trans woman who joined the community in 2014. Also in the UK. So she's seen this transition kind of from this old school scene that you don't necessarily want to be in to the new generation, which is still very far from perfect, but good, I hope. And then our third speaker will be Ash Clay, who is also a how do you define yourself, Ash Clay? You're in chat. Tell us.
We have the
she
opportunity
is
to ask
also-
actually.
She is also neurodivergent, neurotypical, and so she will be talking about her trans feminine non-binary person. Thank you very much. So she will be talking about her experience in the scene. So she arrived during COVID, actually. She started during COVID, went to her first event, which was Konjikun, which was last month, 2 months ago.
Insane.
And she joined the community entirely through marginalized communities themselves. So on one hand, you have VA who evolved in a community where you didn't have anything created for them. Then you have Switch, who started with no sense of community and now has a bunch of Discord servers and a bunch of ways to discuss with people who have the same experiences as her. And then you have Ash Clay, and they have joined directly through the LGBTQ plus and trans and women's servers. And stayed in the community thanks to that. So it's really 3 different experiences over the years, and I'm extremely excited to see them interact and talk about how it evolved and how it should keep going. More importantly,
that's already like the fact that you bring together so many like different generations with their own set of experiences, and that alone already shows at least some form of change, right? That
I just forgot, I'm sorry. So this will be moderated by Jana.
Exactly. I saw that on my list.
So who is a co-founder of the EU Women of Smash Discord server.
That's really cool. Yeah, we need to make sure to mention everybody. Yeah.
I can't forget the moderators. Sorry.
No, I mean that you do everything from memory. That's the true dedication that we're looking for. So yeah. So that alone, and the examples of Vanity Angel and Ash Clay and how they joined the scenes and how different it was, and with Vanity Angel organizing the first events, the meetups, and then after a time we could see how these great initiatives in the Smash community actually made it possible for more people who are not like a gender majority to join. That's progress, I would say. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. I feel like it's progress. Maybe they will have something different to say. They were the speakers.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
I think there's a lot of progress, and it's interesting to see the history, but also where this is going.
for sure. And I mean, we do need to keep out like a critical mind, and I don't want to embellish anything, but just
Yeah.
from what you're saying. Okay, so that's a great second panel, I would say. So what comes next then?
After that comes so I now have my my faithful assistant showing me the program. So after that comes a talk by Bryce was our talker last year. And last year they made a presentation on meritocracy, toxic meritocracy in Smash, power structures in Smash, top player privilege, TO privilege, long-standing player privilege, etc., and how they all articulate together. And at the time, the Code of Conduct panel was very active and completely swamped. And what they did was do a little overview of what had been done and what needed to happen for the Code of Conduct panel to continue going and work well. And as we know, the panel dissolved a few weeks later because of lack of means. This year, Bryce will be coming back with a deep dive on one portion of last year's talk, basically, which is about bans. So this year, they'll be talking a little bit about what do we do now that there's no Code of Conduct panel? What do we do if we can't have a worldwide initiative that is specialized, that has experts, etc.? How do we approach from a local perspective? How do we approach from a TO, from player perspective? What is the goal of a ban? What does it do? Is it to punish someone and have them out of the scene forever? Is it to try to make this person better and send a message more? Is it to send a message to that person or to the entire community? And how bans and other solutions can help send messages and help make the scene healthier for everyone. I am extremely excited.
I am as well. I have to say that this is such an important conversation to have, to talk about the specifics, because it's just because of the fact that the reasons why people get banned are so what's the word, such difficult cases to handle, and it's so much pressure to put in individuals and for them to have the responsibilities to make decisions. And I think we really need to come together as a community and actually consider actively how we want to deal with these things and what kind of consequences we want to have. And Bryce is as Vlerk also pointed out in chat, is the intercontinental speaker. And so this network of global Smash is continuing with that. I was wondering because Bryce was already talking also last year, what made you originally reach out to them? Just because I'm curious, how did that go?
The first time. The first time, I actually, okay. So last year, I was still a sociology student. I graduated this year, yay me.
Congrats.
And at the time,
again.
I didn't know if I wanted to do a thesis or not. And if I wanted to do a thesis, I really wanted to do it about women in Smash and inclusion in Smash in general. So I was following a little bit of academic literature. And then exactly at this moment, Bryce released their master's thesis about Smash ethnology and power structures in Smash. So when I saw that and I read the thesis, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's excellent. And I really wanted to have Bryce give us a point of view that wasn't, because I think this is the thing with Iowa's Open Conference, it's all players. And it's amazing, but sometimes you want to take a step back and have someone who's at least a little bit external to a scene talk in a constructive and less personal way. And I really wanted Bryce last year because we had this. They were talking exactly about what we wanted to talk about, except with the whole academic approach instead of the TO or player, etc. approach. So it was a very interesting point of view, which at the time we thought would just be like a bonus to just have one different point of view, and which ended up being, at least to me, and of course it's not the objective truth. But to me, it was my favorite talk of last year.
I mean, I get why you would say that. I remember distinctly at how the amount of consideration that went into all of the topics that Bryce talks about, and that's also like, to me, that's another aspect of the Ice Open conference, because you represent with that also like this meta level of approaching issues and problems in the community, where it's of course listening to gender minorities, for example, to women, but also have like a meta level where you actively think about what can be changed specifically in the community, and I think that's honestly really great. So yeah, okay, then that's Bryce talks about bands, how
Yeah.
and why, which is also a catchy title, I have to say. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, what about the next one then?
And then we have two different panels. So the first of these two panels is about burnout. It's moderated by me. And the speakers, we will have 3 speakers, including one surprise speaker that we have not revealed yet, mostly because he answered like 3 days ago. But so this is about burnout. It's with 3 people who have quit a project or several projects related to Melee. So I will be moderating, and we will be talking about. So I think the exact title of the panel is "Burnout in a Volunteer World," because it's not just burnout. You know, it's also burnout in a world where it's what you love and it's your friends, and it's so hard to take a break because you know that if you stop TOing or if you stop playing, you're not going to see your friends anymore. You're not going to see the people you love. You're not going to do the thing you love. But at the same time, it just takes so much energy and so many resources. And you also can't go to a doctor and get a note that says, like, you need to stop for 3 months, which in extreme cases happens at work. Because here, nobody's going to, like, make sure that you're not doing what you like again.
Yeah.
So as speakers, we will have Usleon, who is a Chilean-German player, was a player, retired in 2018, I would say, maybe 2017. So he was ranked in Europe. He was a really good player, and it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of play. It was a lot of time spent playing. It was just a lot. So he retired and has been very outspoken about not wanting to come back, basically. We also have Dr. Piggy, who is our big star. I'm a big fan. So Dr. Piggy, for those who don't know, she created the Code of Conduct panel. So it really ties in with Bryce's talk just before that. And Piggy will be telling us. So she hasn't retired entirely. She has done some commentary. She still commentates a little bit for fun. She plays the game. She's active in the scene. She still does academic research about the Smash scene. However, she has, obviously, as we know, quit the Code of Conduct panel when it dissolved. And she has also this approach of she didn't only stop because it was exhausting and a lot of work. She also stopped because of hate and harassment. It wasn't just self-imposed, basically, but it was, I think it's a really interesting approach of how do you help the scene without becoming a martyr? How do you make the scene better without killing yourself in the process, basically? So she'll have this approach of community organizing, basically. So we have one player, one community organizer, and our third speaker will be Teraz, who you may know from the Phoenix Blue series from Sweden, who is TO extraordinaire and who has done so much work. So he joined the community rather recently, I think maybe 2017 or 2018, and took said that he would take a 2-month break in February 2021, and we haven't seen him since then. So because TOing is so exhausting, and he was doing so much, constantly TOing, constantly working on seeding as well. So seeding all the tournaments in all of Europe, basically. So always keeping an eye on everything that happens to make sure the seedings are good, etc., which is a tremendous amount of work. And he will also have this specific point of view on COVID and how COVID and losing the social connection while still having the same amount of work made him burn out. So it's 3 different reasons for burning out and 3 different times for burning out, more or less, although more similar. It's 3 very different roles. So 1 player, 1 community organizer, and 1 TO, tournament organizer, sorry. And there's so much in common and so much that changes. I'm very excited for this panel, which I said it, I will be moderating. So yeah.
That's great. The reason, because I have to say, because I look forward to every panel, but that one's in specific, just because what you address with that is, I think it wasn't. Oh, I mean, in passing, of course, it was important last year as well. But I think this aspect of mental health, because burning out is a mental health issue, right? And I think having this personal side of things, and to hear from people what leads to burning out, or to having problems with the community and the scene on the one hand, and also thinking about how to actually make all of it sustainable, how we can show more support, maybe what people who are not active volunteers can maybe do to take pressure off of people. So I think that's really, really great that you introduced this topic as well. Very cool. And you mentioned a second panel in which will close the Eyes Open conference then.
I mean, we will have a little bit of closing words for next one.
Sure. Yeah.
But the last panel, to me, I think it's super important in general, because this one really applies to absolutely everyone, whatever your context is. You can have been in the community for 1 day. You cannot be in the community. You can be marginalized. You cannot be. You can be a player. You can be a TO. You can be anything. And it's going to be relevant to you. So the panel is called How to Be an Ally. And so we will have Vlurk, our wonderful Vlurk, moderating it. And our speakers will be Safe State, Nago, and Danubi, very European panel. So Safe State, you might know from being a star speedrunner. They are also non-binary. They are, I mean, it's a minority of sorts, right? They are American living in Sweden and not speaking the language. I don't know if they're gonna talk about it, but to me, it's also important. So we have Safe State. We have Nago, who is a non-binary and a person of color in the Netherlands, who has been writing a lot of essays about the scene and how competitive we want it to be, and how esports ruins everything, basically. Injecting, let me rephrase, how injecting money in the scene doesn't necessarily solve its problems.
I really liked that article, I have to say too. Yeah,
it was so good. Big fan of Nago.
Yeah, for sure.
And then our third speaker is Danubi, who has ADHD and is a woman. So we've got 3 people who are minorities of sorts in the community, and what Vlurk is going to do, basically, Vlurk, correct me if I'm wrong, but is going to have a 2-part approach mostly. First one being, how do you try to be an ally? So how do you, as people who are marginalized in some ways and are majority in some ways, help other people who need an ally, who needs some advocacy and some support in the scene to find their place? And on the second question, or first question, anyway, the second big approach is, how have you need an ally? So really a question of, I mean, our goal with this panel is really to show that everyone needs an ally and that everyone can be an ally, basically. And how can you be an ally to people who need an ally? Everyone needs an ally at some point. Everyone is an ally at some point. It's never the same time, because if you need an ally, just keep your energy for yourself, please. Like, don't exhaust yourself trying to help other people if if you need to focus on yourself right now. But also sometimes you have this energy, and if you use it on someone who needs it, you're going to make a real difference for this person and for the community in general. So this, to me, I like that your favorite is Burnout, because I was just assuming that everyone would think that how to be an ally would be the most important topic.
That's the second one. Those two.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, because yeah, no, for sure, for
Because
sure.
to me, it's the most important. Not that so like it's the most important because it's every day. It's personal behavior, so you don't need any kind of power. You don't need any kind of preparation or anything. You just need to decide to be an ally yourself in your life, and just commit to it.
Mm.
And also there was a third thing, but I forgot. It applies to everyone. No, I said that. Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, it's very relevant, very
No,
important.
I think that's precisely it. No, I mean honestly, those as I've said, I'm looking forward to every panel, but those two in particular. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Of course, for me, and I do have to say, I am in a privileged position as a cis man who's also straight, and maybe I anticipated your mention of having like flags, and I was also, I mean, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but I actually
Yay! Melee merch.
I have the shirt, the Gale shirt, which I really like, but I'm trying to actively think about ways how I and other people can move past like a passive support. And I really like how you also reframed it as everyone needs an ally, because I think that's true. And just actively think what we can do to listen to actively listen to be like stand in solidarity with others. And so for me,
I'm
this
gonna
will
throw flowers at Vlork, but to me, Vlork is really an example of like this straight cisgender guy, white, everything you want, who has taken his time and his energy to do things and to make a difference. And you too as well. I mean, you're doing this stream for a reason, right? Like you're actually trying to use the fact that you can talk without the fact that you're talking is never going to be a problem, right? It's like you're not going to get harassed just because you're talking. The content of what you say can get some assholes offended, I guess, but it's going to be usually easier for you than for other people who have to go through this every day, and at the end of the day they don't necessarily want to talk about it because it's just been so much during the day. And that's where you come in, and you have this stream and you're using your platform for good and you're making a real difference, and that to me is amazing. And I wish everyone would do that, really. Well, no, I don't, because then you wouldn't have viewers because there would be too much
No,
competition,
honestly,
you know?
I wouldn't mind. The more, I mean, it's always good, I think. And I mean, it's very kind of you to I mean, I love Vlerk. I don't have to, I mean, I hopefully let
Don't
him
forget
know
me.
enough also one-on-one. But yeah, it's really kind of you. And no, I mean, I honestly, I've considered myself so lucky having the opportunities I had so far, talking to Spoopy, to Dr. Piggy, to you today, which I was really happy about when you agreed to do this and present all of this rich program that we will have on Saturday. And it's been really inspiring for me. So thank you for that. So that's the program. I think we're moving closer to the end of the stream now that we have discussed the panels on Saturday. But I was still wondering, maybe one or two questions in closing. I don't know if it's, let's say, maybe it's too early to ask this question, but what are your plans with the Ice Open conference? Do you, I mean, maybe with this Burnout panel in mind, maybe it's too big of a
You had your
question, but
answer, don't you?
would your, at least would your wish be to have it like a yearly thing now, as it has been now for the second year in a row, or yeah.
It's a tough question. It's a lot of energy. This year has been absolutely exhausting.
Hmm.
As of now, I don't see us doing a third conference because it's just so much. And I mean, we could keep going forever, right? But I feel like after last year and this year, we will have covered the most important things.
Hmm.
Um, I want to keep creating content about inclusion in Smash in general, but I don't feel like I need a break.
You could just say no.
So yeah, I think we need a break. I mean, Jessica is sitting next to me and she's
Mm.
enthusiastically nodding. So
No, I completely
I
get
would
that.
say there will be no Eyes Open Conference number 3. What I do want to say though is that it's an amazing experience and that I mean, if you know, it doesn't have to be the end. Like, we can stop and someone else can take over and create
For
their
sure.
own inclusion conference. It's like it's how Smash goes, right? Like some series ends, some series starts. For Eyes Open Conference, I honestly, as of today, I don't see a future. Things can always change, but I don't think we're gonna have another one. Yeah.
It's all the more reason to tune in this
Yes.
this Saturday. I would say,
Yeah.
and I mean,
if we have 5,000 viewers, maybe we'll reconsider.
we'll aim for that for sure.
Don't give us 5,000 viewers. I don't
and-
want to reconsider. Yeah, sorry.
And I mean, I haven't been doing this as long as you have, and you have been like the level of commitment and effort that you and everyone at the Eyes Open conference has put in. That's amazing to me. And just from this very short experience of mine, in comparison, I can only say I totally get that it's a huge investment of time and energy, and it takes a lot. So I completely get what you're saying. Nonetheless, because the conference will take place this Saturday, what can people do to support the conference?
So until Saturday, I would say the main thing that you can do is follow us on Twitter at EyesOpenConf, follow Phoenix Smash on Twitch, which is where we're going to stream the event. And on Twitter, if you can, it's always good to give us a little retweet. If you want to go the extra mile, one thing that I've been asking people to do, algorithm wise, it's pretty cool. And also just in general, it's really nice to see people being interested in different things. So what I would really like to see, if you have energy to, if you have interest, is to go on the Eyes Open Conf Twitter account, see the pinned tweet, which is our schedule, and just either quote tweet or just reply with the one talk or the two talks or the three talks, or just say you're interested in everything. I don't know, but really talk about what you're interested in and why, and share it a little bit. So the whole thing is awareness for the conference, right?
Yeah.
So during the event, if you, depending on how much effort you want to do, you can live tweet. If you hear something good, you can tweet it. And at us, we will have someone managing our Twitter during the entire conference and retweeting the tweets, etc. So feel free to tag us and share tweets. If you want to go all in, you can also make clips, which we can use afterwards as a recap and for the most important moments. Share during the conference as well, etc. One thing that you can do before, during, and after the conference is donate. So we have a Ko-fi link. We've tried not to be too aggressive about it, I'd say, but it might have gotten a little bit under the radar for some people. So just as a reminder, from what I was
can
saying,
be aggressive, right? I mean,
Cool.
I will post the Ko-fi
Nice.
link right now into
Thank you.
chat. Because I get the approach, but I mean, I do think that it's important to
We'll push it a little bit more during the event, I think, but before the event, we wanted to make, like, it's super hard because we're like, yeah, we want to pay people for what they're doing, but also we don't want people to think we're doing this for the money. Clearly, we're not doing it for the money because there's no money. But also,
everyone knows.
But yeah, just as a reminder from what I was saying at the beginning of this talk, we have almost 30 people involved in this. We have one graphic designer. We've had 2 people working on our videos. We have our streamer, Shays. We have Skep, who will be streaming as well with Shays. We have the 3 organizers, and we have, 15 speakers or something like that. And for all of them, if we had a way to thank them for their work and to put into application what we will be talking about in the Burnout panel, and actually compensate people for the time and the energy they spend trying to make the community better for everyone, that it means a lot to us. So if you can support us with a donation, it makes a huge difference for everyone involved in the event. So
that's a great thought to also, I think, also a great closing remark, just as a gesture to give back, to show appreciation, to show your support, even if it's obviously you've named a couple of things how one can do that, and I will after this I will exactly, that's why we do it, right? So we have the stamp of approval that you're a better person.
Because everything you'll do that is retweeting the conference, clipping our quotes, tweeting about it, donating, it's all amazing. But what matters the most is that in the end, you adjust your behavior and you try to make a difference on the daily in the community. And you know what? If it's never linked to the Eyes Open conference, it's okay. We won't take it personally as long as you're trying to make a difference. So yeah, that's the most important thing.
Fantastic. I couldn't have asked for better closing remarks. Exile, thank you so much again for coming on, for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really looking forward to tuning in on Saturday, and so we will show the trailer once more so people have it, have all the specifics in front of them. And other than that, hope to see you around soon. And everyone, thank you so much for joining this edition of Tisk Talk, and I'll see you around soon. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
The Eyes Open Conference is a half day of talks and panels featuring Stay State, Cone, Dr. Piggy, and many other figures. We'll talk about how to be an ally, burnout, mental health, and player bans, among other topics. See what you can learn and share in the conversation. Join us on Phoenix Smash on the 30th of October to help build a better community for everyone.